I'm honored again this year to welcome all of you to the presentation of the Evangelina Menendez Women of Distinction Trailblazer Awards for 2015 to 5 outstanding New Jersey women. Lisette Delgado Polanco, Executive Director of the Service Employees International Union, representing thousands of hardworking New Jerseyans. Teen Council Foundation founder Giselle de Natal, an extraordinary trailblazer and accomplished advocate for the health care of those with teen cancer. My friend and one of the most amazing advisors I've ever known, who exemplifies the nobility of public service, Karen Elkis. Navy pilot Captain Jean O'Brien, we thank you for your service to this nation as one of the trailblazing first women in combat aviation. And we honor someone who has served in her community in law enforcement, also a trailblazer, the first female sheriff in Middlesex County, the first African-American in New Jersey, Sheriff Mildred Scott. Let's hear it for these 5 fantastic women. Each of these extraordinary women have made a difference. Each is truly a trailblazer and a woman of great distinction. My mom, Evangelina Menendez, was a seamstress in the textile factories of Hudson County. She worked hard, she led a quiet, simple life, but she set a powerful example for me and my siblings. In her life, she made some enormous decisions. It was her who was the driver in 1953 to leave her native country at the time of Cuba and come to the United States. She did so because she saw the danger of what was about to happen, and she told my father, look, I am going to go, and we need to go, and if you're not willing to come, then, I'm taking the kids and moving ahead. And that time, that was my sister and my brother. And I think about that decision to leave everything you have behind, to go to a country where you don't know the language, don't have anybody waiting for you, have no guarantees of what is to come, and start all over again. And to me, that is the epitome of courage, because I think if one of us had to leave our country because of what is happening and go somewhere and start all over again and leave everybody behind, would we have the courage to do so? My mom did. And as a result of it, we began a new course on an American journey where I got to be born in the great city of New York, but then quickly realized that New Jersey is the promised land and moved over here. And then I've had a long opportunity to serve my fellow New Jerseyans and fellow Americans. I learned a lot of life lessons from my mom that instruct me in my work today. Not only the courage that she had in coming over, but, she worked in the factories, and she was so good at what she did that they had her sort of like become the floor manager. But she never got paid like the floor manager. And so for me, it was a powerful, others, the guys who were basically doing the same job she was doing, did get paid as the floor manager, but she didn't. And it was a powerful lesson about equal pay for equal work, which I think every woman in this country deserves, and that we fight in the United States Senate to make a reality. Her English was very, very poor, and I never forget, after being in the factory all day, coming home and taking time after cooking and cleaning, and she would say, sit here and read to me what your homework assignment was. And I'd say to her, but Mom, you don't know what I'm going to tell you. And she said, sit here and read your homework assignment to me. It was an incredibly powerful story about the importance of education. And even though she didn't understand, she wanted to transmit to me the idea that this was incredibly important. Or, as someone who grew up in a tenement, I would always marvel when, during certain times, she would invite other people to eat at our home, in our apartment. And I would say, why are you inviting other people? There's hardly enough to go around. And she would say, we have more than others, and for so long as we do, we need to make sure that they are taken care of as well. And it was a powerful sense of community in its most significant way. So the woman that I chose as the honoree for this event, my mom, was an extraordinary woman, and she fought her years with dignity against Alzheimer's, and these are extraordinary women we're recognizing today, and they are an essential trailblazers as well. So let me just close up by saying, but as we recognize these women, there's a lot of work still to be done. Women in America will not make real, tangible progress until we as a nation finally pass the Equal Rights Amendment. That's why I plan to once again reintroduce the Equal Rights Amendment with Senator Jill Ban in the United States Senate again this month. And we will continue until we finally pass it. And let's also be very clear that women around the world cannot make real progress until we end human trafficking and pass the International Violence Against Women's Act, which I reintroduced this week with a bipartisan group of Senate colleagues. For those of us who live in this country, some of us may have a hard time understanding that every day, in every country, in every village, too many women face horrific violence and discrimination. The International Violence Against Women's Act will make clear that ending gender-based violence and discrimination is one of America's top priorities. We are reminded every day that far from attaining what we could even consider to be equality, millions of women lack even basic security. From all the women in so many places enduring slavery and forced marriage imposed by the Islamic State militants in Iraq and Syria, to those facing sexual exploitation in camps where they seek refuge in South Sudan, to the girls abducted by Boko Haram from their schools in Nigeria, women and girls globally face a level of violence that is a moral outrage. We owe them, we think of them every day, and we are morally bound to protect them. Around the world, the issue of human trafficking in all of its forms, sexual exploitation, forced labor, forced marriage, debt bondage, and the sale and exploitation of children should be a global cry for justice. But as Benjamin Franklin said, justice will not be served until those who are unaffected are as outraged as those who are. So today we're all outraged at the violence against women and the psychological terror and the greed that drives human trafficking. We're outraged that there are 50 million refugees and displaced people around the world, the largest number since World War II. Many of them are women. We're outraged that there are 21 million victims of human trafficking, over 5 million of whom are children, and that forced labor generates about $150+ billion in profits annually, the second largest income source for international criminals next to the drug cartels. Civil society, NGOs, and other organizations, some who are here today, are doing what they can, but we must do more. Governments can take more direct action, companies can do more to clean up their supply chains and make that information public, and the public can be more aware of who picks the fruit on their breakfast cereal in the morning. How many women and children it took, trapped in a sweatshop 24 hours a day to sew the dresses and skirts they're wearing. One thing we can and must do is pass that International Violence Against Women Act that will give our government the tools to respond more effectively to epidemic levels of violence against women across the globe. It does a series of things, and I think that those are all powerful ones as well. Last year, at this event, I quoted Hillary Rodham Clinton, who once summed up the importance of the world's women as succinctly and as unambiguously as anyone could. And it is relevant this year as it was last year. She said, quote, "The status of the world's women is not only a matter of morality and justice, it is also a political, economic, and social imperative. Put simply, the world cannot make lasting progress if women and girls in the 21st century are denied their rights and left behind." She was right. The world cannot make real progress if women are left behind, but still in parts of the world, women produce most of the food but can't own any of the land. They can't run for office or have a say in village councils or local or tribal government. They can't even attend school, let alone graduate. So it's no surprise that a majority of the world's illiterate are now women. And we must remember from the devastating story of Malala that in too many places, women and girls are repeatedly attacked for simply wanting to go to school, simply wanting as their right to learn. That, my God, that must surely change. And it must change on our watch, with our help, in our hands, and in our time. And we can begin today here in New Jersey with these 5 incredible choices.